whatever happened to the ISSessions 2020 CTF?
Oh yeah, it's kind of a long story, and yet filled with such triumph, friendship, and glory. I don't know. Do you want to hear it?
I do. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Yet filled with such triumph. In secret, we met, under veil of darkness gathered, in that winter of disharmony, to knock and knock again on the doors of destiny, and revive the embers of ISSessions CTF 2020. 6 in all we converged, never anticipating, never expecting what might emerge. Spells and incantations we cast, melding the present into the past. We fought and bled, together as one, to bring you ISSessions CTF 2021. My God, it was like symphony. You might even compare it to poetry. And now we turn to you, our community at large. If we are the keepers of the flame, then you are the fire itself. I bid you now, let that fire burn. Let your curiosity run unbound. Let your thirst for knowledge know no bound. The hour is nigh. The time is near. Begin preparations, best get into gear. First years, second years, third years all. Listen to my words, heed my call. We march into battle to the sound of the drum. Who amongst you shall be the victorious one?
Unreal. Yeah,
dude, I'm crying.
That was awesome.
You guys heard the poet.
I'm like shaking.
ISSessions CTF is back and better than ever for 2021. Not only have we moved the infrastructure online, but we also have increased the length of the event to an entire weekend. So mark your calendars for March 27th and 28th, and be ready for when registration opens on March 2nd during the reading week. I got 2 uses out of your face. Let's see. So there'll be prizes worth hundreds of dollars. We will have challenges for both noobs and pros, and we have over 100 challenges, including steganography, programming, reversing, data analysis, plus a lot more. We also have sponsors presenting and community sponsors, including the SSU, Sheridan Faculty of Applied Science Technology. We got Vontel, Trend Micro, Bell, Deloitte, Security Compass. And we also have sponsored workshops. So just, to throw a few here, we got Trend with NDAV vulnerability research, Bell with threat hunting, Deloitte with 2 workshops, one on packet capture and one on security risk from logs, rules, investigations, and then Security Compass is a crash course on Bluetooth security as well. So mark it on your calendars. It's coming really soon. We'll have more information in the following weeks, so just stay tuned to that. And one more thing before we move on to news. If you remember last year, the 2020 CTF was canceled due to the pandemic. However, myself and the current exec team owes the 2020 CTF contributors a great deal of thanks, because we are either directly using or building upon a lot of their contributions and knowledge. So thank you for all their hard work, and thanks to anyone that supported them as well. And now let's get on to the news. We got Jamie, Nash, and Jem doing the news this week. So Jem, what's the scoop?
Wow, awesome. Super stoked for that CTF. That was amazing. And that poem by Louai, I'm not even gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna do it justice. Yeah.
How are you gonna top any of that? I just want to know.
That's kind of the whole dilemma that I was thinking about. I don't even know if I can do the news right now, right? I'm still shaking. I'm still shaking. 2, I don't know. That was something else.
That was
No. Okay. I can do poetry, but Jem's the hype king, and that's a fact.
We'll have a poetry
I've never done
workshop
hype
in the
like
CTF.
this. Yeah, maybe a workshop. We'll see. Wow. Awesome news. Thanks for the intro, Kurt, and I hope you guys are all stoked for that CTF like I am. I cannot wait. As far as the news go, definitely some cool stuff happening as of late in the information security community. One that you guys might have all already heard is that CD Projekt Red, the creators of Cyberpunk 2077, got hit with ransomware not too long ago. I know that there's been a bunch of really big name video game developers that got hit, I think last year and even earlier this year. Some of the names were like Capcom and some others that I can't remember right now. But this is huge because of obviously the big release that CDPR had, right, with Cyberpunk 2077. Now, the company posted a statement saying that their systems have been compromised. It's for sure. The attackers basically just encrypted all their computers and stole a bunch of data. Now, they're saying, CDPR is saying that they're not going to pay. They are refusing to pay, which is kind of a win in its own right. I guess they had the backups and stuff. And the biggest thing, I guess, right now, because CDPR is maintaining that the customer information hasn't been stolen, the biggest thing for them right now is that the source code for their most recent Cyberpunk game and also Witcher 3 have been stolen, and they're refusing to leak it, right? Which is, it's pretty big stuff, in my opinion. I think, you know, if that gets released to the public, big stuff going on. Along with the source code, they say that information based on investors, human resources, and accounting data has also been stolen. The ransom note says that if they're not paid, like I said, they're going to release all this information to the public. And I quote here, they say that CDPR's public image will go down the shitter even more. That is a direct quote from the ransomware note. Our security researchers are saying that this ransomware is thought to be of the Hello Kitty variety. I guess that's the name of the ransomware, but they're not guaranteeing it yet. More work needs to be done. Yeah.
Do I just like jump in, or are you introducing all of us, Kurt? Because Jem got a pretty cool introduction.
Jamie, give us the scoop.
Hey, you guys probably remember my voice from all the workshops that we've done, but I'm now doing the news. I've decided to diversify my portfolio.
He does it all.
I
What
do
else
it all.
does he not do?
I'm a man of many wonders. One of them now the news. So we actually have two crypto stories for me today because crypto is an area of interest of mine. Now this one is kind of funny. So they stole a pretty small amount of 1.3 billion. Not a big number for world governments, but all three of these suspects were nation-state actors under this pretty secretive group in the North Korean government called the Reconnaissance General Bureau of North Korea. Now, they also have a bunch of other names, such as the Lazarus Group, Hidden Cobra, APT-38, and literally Sony Hack 2014. So basically what this is a division of a North Korean, basically like a malware farm. Basically, these three guys, their job was to create fake personas and steal things from other people, which is, you know what, we all got to make a buck now and again. What I found most interesting about their platform was that they, quote unquote, impressively, developed a large fake blockchain platform. So basically, through social networking and social engineering, they were able to get investors to join their fake blockchain platform, which then deployed this backdoor called Apple Juice, which actually infected legitimate cryptos. And it was obviously a very large heist. And I thought it was pretty impressive that they scammed a bunch of like the r/Wall Street Bets people into joining their platform to then steal the other people's cryptocurrency. I feel like there's a little bit of like karma involved in that. But yeah, it's a very interesting story, and it's going to be kind of a preface to the next crypto story that I have. So back to whoever's next.
Awesome.
It's Nash.
It is me.
Go for it.
Okay. So for the next one, a security research managed to breach over 35 companies. Some of them include Microsoft, Apple, PayPal, Shopify, Netflix, and a few other well-known names. The whole breach was actually based on a dependency confusion attack, or also known as a substitution attack, which takes advantage of code that's often used from other sources. Dependency chain attack paths can include various methods, such as compromising existing packages or uploading malicious code under the names of dependencies that no longer exist. An attacker can upload a higher version of a private module to a public feed, causing a client to automatically download the bogus latest version. So what the researchers did was the researcher collected names of private internal packages used by a company's GitHub, posts on various internet forums, and JavaScript files that listed project's dependencies. What he did was uploaded rogue libraries using those same names to open source package hosting services. And he used the counterfeit packages to obtain records of every machine where the package was installed and exfiltrated details over DNS, as the traffic would be less likely to be blocked or detected. They did inform the companies of the breach. So Microsoft did release a white paper with recommendations on how you can avoid becoming a victim. One of their suggestions includes referencing one private feed and not multiple, protecting private packages using controlled scopes and namespaces or prefixes, and utilizing client-side verification features such as version pinning and integrity verification.
Awesome. Yeah, I thought this story was wild. It's like out of a movie. This Florida town water supply gets hacked and essentially gets turned into poison. So these hackers broke into the computer systems of a water treatment facility in Florida, like the title says. And what they essentially done was they raised the sodium hydroxide levels, which is like a super chemical corrosive. I think it's actually also known as lye. It's the same thing. They raised those levels from 100 parts per million to 11,100 parts per million. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you got to be good at math to know that those are like insane increases, just wild stuff. Luckily, the operators that were monitoring the levels quickly noticed and changed it back before it reached the town water supply. They actually said that it would still, even if they didn't notice, it would have taken something like 3 days or something for it to actually go through everything and reach the town, reach the people in the town anyway. So it's not like it would have been, right away, but still really, really scary stuff. The attackers are thought to have accessed the SCADA controls through TeamViewer, which was actually installed on all the computers, not all the computers, on all the computers that controlled chemical levels at the plant, so that the personnel could check the status of the systems or respond to alarms remotely. So really wild, like a tool like TeamViewer that we all kind of have access to and use on a regular basis was used to perform this huge of an attack. The sheriff's office, the FBI, as well as the Secret Service, are still investigating, but believe that this was not a state-sponsored attack, which is very interesting. Yeah, a lot to think about there. Really cool stuff. Well, not cool in a good sense, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's actually so funny, Jim. We had a big discussion at work as to, well, I had a big discussion as to why not to use TeamViewer, and I'm now using this Florida water hack to justify it. It's wild. It's wild. It's very common.
Dink? I think not.
Speaking of common software, so I don't know if all y'all heard, but Apple is now developing their own in-house processor known as the M1 chip. I believe it's Apple's first system-on-a-chip design. It's a pretty big deal, a lot of big performance boosts and whatnot. However, it has one fatal flaw, and that is the Go programming language, which is the first of 2 Go payloads that we're going to talk about tonight. So the Go Search 22 is a malicious application that runs natively on the Apple's M1 chip because Go runs natively, right? Go, one of the great benefits of Go is that it compiles natively to most platforms. And using this functionality, they were able to basically bootstrap this adware called, I think it's, sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong, I think it's Pirate. Or Parrot, or Puree. I don't know. I'm gonna say Pirate. Pirate?
I don't know. I'm just making it up. Go ahead.
I don't know. We're gonna say Pirate for now. Effectively, Go Search 22 bootstraps the Pirate adware, and because it runs on Go, it's able to pull this adware in and causes some pretty annoying behavior. Now, they may not sound bad, like, okay, you're gonna have some annoying ads and pop-ups, but what this actually could be extended to do is what's called access management malware. So this payload could be extended if needed. I imagine they're just doing some more research on the M1 chip. Because, however, it is based on the ARM64 platform. Apple has done its own kind of in-house stuff, so they're probably still exploring that. But it's pretty interesting that this chip, I don't believe it's hit the public market yet. I don't know, unless it's on the brand new MacBooks. However, either way, super new, and it's already got a system level malware built for it, which is pretty great. On to the next.
Well, I think this story is also wild. All my stories are wild always, but this one really shook me up because I know this has been going on for a while. I think even before I was on the exec team, some of the sessions talks that I had gone to were talking about Clearview, and yeah, they're back in the spotlight. Clearview AI, which is this American AI company, is refusing to remove Canadians' photos from their database, sort of. So privacy commissioners across Canada, they essentially want Canada's federal and provincial privacy laws to be stronger. And the main kind of thing that's brought this to light these last couple of weeks or months is that Clearview AI, which made headlines last year as being the super invasive tech that was used by the RCMP, Even though this company, their product hasn't been available to Canada since July 2020, there's still millions of Canadians' photographs in their database, and they won't remove them. And they also won't stop collecting more. And this is because they argue that the methods through which that they've obtained these photos is completely allowed. It's by the book, as outlined in PIPEDA, which is Canada's kind of thing that governs, how PII and stuff like this is collected by companies. Clearview basically said that, this is why I said sorta, they've essentially just said that Canadians can apply to have their photograph removed, but here's the kicker: if you want to apply to have your photo removed, you got to send another photo of yourself. So it's like, I don't know, there's got to be some kind of a weird thing in there. I mean, it really it's strange. I know, Yusuf, I can understand, but that's kind of like the hoops that you got to jump through if you want your photograph removed. Now, Canadian privacy commissioners aren't the only ones that are at odds with Clearview AI. I know that the UK and the Australian information commissioners are also in the middle of investigating Clearview AI. So they're definitely doing they're doing a bunch of stuff worldwide, and we're not the only ones at odds with them. But I just can't believe the logic behind that. You want to get your photo removed from our database, so send us some more recent, probably a much more clear photo of you than what we have. Strange stuff. Yeah.
All right. So for our next one, turns out that there is a new variant of the Masslogger Trojan being sold on the underground forums. What it does is disguises malicious RAR files as compatible HTML files or CMH files. Many organizations don't consider CMH files to be executables, and what this Trojan does is essentially steal browser, email, and instant messaging credentials. It can also be configured as a keylogger. Files attached to email contained HTML with lightly obfuscated JavaScript code. A PowerShell script then executes the code, which deobfuscates into a downloader. The PowerShell loader is downloaded and loads the main PowerShell loader. And essentially what the Trojan is targeting is different software such as FileZilla, Discord, NordVPN, Outlook, Foxmail, Firefox, Thunderbird, and many other Chrome-based browsers. Once credentials from target applications are retrieved, they're uploaded to the exfiltration server with a file name containing the username, the country ID, and machine ID, along with a timestamp. And based on the indicator of compromises, it's suspected that the attacker that has utilized this payload is also responsible for other Trojans, such as the Agent Tesla Trojan and the Formbook Dropper.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for this one. Strap in. This is going to be great. So this is not only the second cryptojacking story of the night, but it's also the second Golang-based payload of the evening. I'm super excited to talk about this one. So to get this started, the best part about this hack is that it sat unknown for over 2 years. It's been running for 2 years, and it's been bootstrapped into Windows devices, Linux devices, browsers, everything. This thing is everywhere, and it's been there for like 2 years, just mining away. And like the previous payload that we talked about, this one can also be extended into access management, which basically gets you into all sorts of system level stuff. So the way that this hack works is very, very clever. And I probably shouldn't be like saying I'm impressed with them, but I have a professional impression with them. I'm very, very curious and impressed how they did this. So using the Go language once again to compile natively on these systems, the best part about this is they actually emulated an inherent Linux service, which has, I guess, a similar service across Windows, but I'll explain it from the Linux perspective. So the Linux kernel has what's called a watchdog daemon or a watchdog service, and it's arguably one of the most important services on your Linux kernel. Basically, what this thing does is okay, on a basic level, it's providing the necessary refresh to keep your system from resetting. It's basically allowing things to synchronize and run at a speed that keeps everything going. It's testing things like your memory usage, files, file table overflow, IP. It's managing everything and watching everything to make sure that things are behaving as expected. So this cryptojacking actually emulated that. It basically built itself beside the Linux watchdog service and sat there the system thought it was normal and didn't do anything. And what's kind of hilarious about this is that this hack normally would have to be built specific to a chip, right? You'd have to build this specifically to whatever kernel version you're running, which is largely dependent on the chip or the platform that you're using. But because of Golang, they're able to compile it natively to any system that runs Golang and deploy it en masse, which is what just made this so crazy. Like, Golang, as powerful as it is also proving to be a pretty interesting space in security. So as my first point suggests, cryptojacking and Golang should definitely be on your radar for 2021. On to the next.
Awesome. Thanks, Jem. Thanks, Nash. Thanks, Jamie. As always, towards the end of the night, I will post all the news stories discussed in the news channel and in the YouTube description. So I like the three people doing the news story. It's kind of it's a nice dynamic, I think. And then next up we have the return of the Repo rundown. It's been a while. How you doing, Nick? I don't have a poet introduction for you, but
that's all right. Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah, no
can
worries.
you hear me all right? Do you want to just share my screen?
Yeah.
That's it. Awesome.
Yeah, I'll pull that.
Sweet. Okay. Hi, everyone. I was really glad when I heard a few of you talking about how much you love C, because I'm breaking from tradition a little bit and doing a C program. And in fact, my idea was I wanted to cover like just a standard Linux utility, to show people that, you know, all the utilities you would use on the command line are just, you know, they're all open source. They're accessible. You can read these things. You can find out how they work. A lot of standard lib is kind of long, so touch is a pretty simplistic command, so I thought we'd have time to go through that. So if you never use touch on the command line, it's basically just a program to either create an empty file or to change timestamps on files. The source code is available here at GNU's own self-hosted Git. I'll flip over to that in a little bit and show you what the source tree looks like. These are the many authors: Paul, Arnold, Jim, David, and Randy. So yeah, jumping into it. So again, touch is part of core utils. You've been using, if you've ever done any Linux at all, you've been using core utils. You probably just didn't know that that's the name of the actual sort of underlying library that provides all the basic command line utilities. So other stuff that is part of core utils, if you ever wanted to look at their own source code, is stuff like cat and chmod and chown and cut, date, dd, echo, ls, like all the standard, you know, Linux utilities are there, and you can go and read them if you want to. Some of them are more accessible than others. I'll show you. And I don't know why I have this little note down here about Python. I think that was actually because I just reused my slides and forgot to delete that line. So we're going to ignore that. So first off, the actual man page, if you have never, again, used touch, it allows you to change file timestamps. But one of the things that it's used for more commonly is actually if you don't supply the -c option, it will also create the name of the file that you specify on the command line if it doesn't exist already. If you kind of have no idea what I'm talking about, here, hopefully you can see my terminal window. No, you probably can't. I have to share a different window. One sec. Cool. Okay, so so I'm in like an empty directory. Make a file called ISSessions. It's empty, right? There's nothing in it. But the other cool thing you can do with touch, again, just to show you what the timestamp is, the created, modified, access, whatever timestamps. Right now, it's that timestamp of when I just created it. So you can also do touch sometime. There's a lot of different timestamp formats that it supports, but I'm just going to do like month, day, hour, minute, second on the file ISSessions. And now we can see that the timestamp has changed. Okay, that's all. So that's what touch does. It's actually really useful for just really quickly creating empty files if you need them for, I don't know, like flag purposes or whatever. Anyways, back to my other window. Cool. So the man page, other things you can do, you can tell it not to create a file and only change dates and timestamps of files that already exist. You can tell it just change the access time, just change the modified time on a file. You can say, hey, if I'm pointing this at a link, whether to affect the file the link is pointing to or the actual link itself. There's a couple of different ways to specify the timestamp. things like that. And there's the standard help and version options as well. So on to touch.c, which is the actual source code file for this. It starts off with a ton of includes. Some of these, again, if you've ever written any C, you would know, like standard IO. So we get, things like print statements. A lot of these are actually used for argument parsing, according to the standards for the like GNU utilities. So like get opt and arg match. Parse date time, things like that. Others are a little bit more specialized. Something like system error, utimes, stat time. These are all kind of libraries that give us access to some of these system calls in Linux that we're going to need to be able to write the touch utility. You can go and explore these libraries if you want. A couple of them are neat because they're actually wrappers around system calls that make some calls safer. For example, fd reopen, the one on the top right here. It basically opens a file, but it kind of manipulates the return value to make the return value more consistent with what we expect from command line utilities when there's errors and such. There's a lot of global variables in this program. Most of these, however, are focused around reading the command line arguments to touch, like reading them and parsing them. That's what most of these are tracking. So for example, change times is just an integer that's going to track which of the two timestamps or both that you want to change, the access time or the modified time. Whether or not they use that no create flag, they use reference flag, because you can actually set timestamps equal to another files. The no dereference on the links thing. So again, most of these are just representations of the command line arguments. So they're not earth-shatteringly complex. The only kind of non-standard one would be this time spec one. That basically holds two timestamps, one for the potential new mod access time and one for the mod time. That's it. The rest are all just kind of short forms for the various command line arguments. So moving on though, the program actually only has like 3 functions in it, and it's relatively short. The main function, when you first look at it, like it's your standard main, argc, argv, all that. Main's actually 182 lines. But 177 of those are devoted to like parsing the command line arguments, determining which arguments were specified, doing some error checking on them, and assigning them to those various global variables I was showing you. So for the sake of a repo rundown, I would argue that those are not really interesting. It's just, did they supply command line arguments? Did they not? If they, didn't supply a proper argument, call the usage function, which we'll see in a sec, that just prints like all the the help stuff, like here's how to use this program. The other stuff that these 177 lines do is basically make sure that the timestamp are in the right format. So there's a couple of manipulations in there that just basically turn stuff into a nice looking timestamp. Right down at the bottom of main, the last 3 lines are the only what I would call like interesting or non-trivial lines in main that you might be interested in. What I didn't show you is that one of the options for touch is to actually put like 5 or 10 file names on the command line and it will create all of them. So really that's what this for loop is doing. It's iterating over all of the remaining command line arguments after you've processed, the other switches, the times, things like that. And for each file name on the command line, it's calling a function called touch and passing it that file name. And then it's kind of got this Boolean variable called OK, and we're ANDing that with the result of these various calls to touch, which is kind of brilliant, because if any one of those commands ever fails, then a true and a false is going to end up being a false, and then that OK will be set to false regardless of how many of those commands then succeed. A single failure suggests that there was a failure to the program and we need to alert on that. So this is a really cool way of achieving like a basic sentinel or like a errored or not answer for a whole bunch of calls to a single function. I thought that was cool. And then down at the bottom, the last line is just a ternary operator, like was OK set to true? If yes, exit the program returning exit success or exit failure. It's a nice, elegant little solution that I thought was worth pointing out. But so all the action apparently then happens in the touch function. But before I hop into that, I said that, if the person supplies the wrong command line arguments, we call usage. All usage does is literally print the text of how to use the touch command. There's a couple of neat like wrapper or helper functions in here, like emit try help is like a built-in function that will suggest that the user try typing the name of the program with -- help. That's all that call does. It's kind of standardized across all those command line utilities. So that's why they're just calling a pre-written function to do that. And it can potentially exit with the status down here, where the status was hopefully a failure or something like that. Again, it's just a bunch of print statements. It's not mind-blowing. Some of the formatting is kind of cool. But other than that, it's not earth-shattering. So all the neat stuff happens inside the actual touch function that takes a file name as its only parameter. So we have a Boolean OK, which I guess we're using to track errors. You have your file descriptor, or basically the handle for the file that you're going to open, that you're going to maybe change the timestamps on. You have the error number if any errors were generated. And again, we have this time spec that basically holds the 2 timestamps that we might use. The first thing is actually a check to see, is the user referring to a particular file, or there is an option with touch where you can say, treat like the file that we're changing timestamps on as standard out. It's kind of weird. But this piece right here is actually a macro in C that's defined in one of those header files. I put it here so you can see. This is string equals. It's just a really short form for saying, hey, compare this string and this string and return 0 if they're not the same, which is kind of cool. So it's just a shortcut macro to say treat touch as though it's operating on the standard out file. Otherwise, it's going to do this. It's going to call fd reopen on the file that we specified as a parameter, passing it a few arguments like read only, or write only, create, non-blocking. This looks really similar. Sorry, I guess you can't actually see my mouse, but the box outlined in red is what I'm talking about. It's really simple, similar to a standard like file open call in C. We're saying we want to open this file and passing it a bunch of parameters about if it's read only, read write, whatever. The fd reopen is actually a wrapper around the open system call. So if you take operating systems, system calls are like lower level versions of library calls that interact with the kernel of the OS a little more closely. But that's all it is. It's just a wrapper around open. The reason they wrap it is to standardize the return values and make it easier to put into utilities like this. If that call returned a -1, means we had an issue opening the file, so we're going to record the error number and probably exit. After we do that, we determine, so like if they're setting the timestamps to now, then t value is equal to null because we don't need the other timestamps. This is the only other like significant thing that happens in this program. We call this FDU time nstat function, which, like the previous function, is just a wrapper around a system call called fu times ns, which is, again, it's a low-level Linux system call that just allows you to set the timestamps on a file. Provides an interface provided, or an API provided by the Linux OS. So again, we're passing it the file handle that we opened a moment ago with that fd read open call. And then we're passing it possibly the timestamps, which is what that t variable in there is for. And that's essentially it. So we're allowing the OS to set the timestamps for us because arguably it knows how to do that when it talks to the file system. There's details around this system call at this link here. So, I mean, I'll be going over a couple other features of it, but ultimately, like, touch boils down to 2 wrappers around operating system system calls. So there's fd read open, which is just a fancy version of open, and there's this one, the fdu time, which is a fancy wrapper around this other system call a few times, and that's kind of what it does. After that, I mean, those 2 system calls either succeeded or they didn't. If they succeeded, we're going to try to close the file that we opened. So that's what the red box is here. It's just like your standard file close operation. If that errors, we spit out an error message. If the file's not like open, that means that there might have been an error or weird other stuff. So we're going to return more error messages. Again, we get to the end of the touch function, and if everything was not okay, meaning at some point we generated an error in all of that previous code, return appropriate error messages. They've even got comments here describing the particular conditions under which they would return this error message. But that's the entire touch routine. So like, check where we're going to create these files, try opening it, then try setting the timestamp either to the one specified or to new, like the current time. If it was successful, then try to close the file you just opened. Otherwise, print an error. And if any other errors happened in any of those system calls, try to print details about them. Maybe you didn't have the right permissions or the wrong timestamp or something like that. If you do error out, it's going to return false, and when that little pop-up window thing goes away. But if all of that happened all right and there were no issues, it returns true. And that's it. That's the whole touch utility. Just wrappers around two function calls, which I thought was really interesting. So like overall comments on this repo. And this is pretty consistent across all of the core utils pieces of software. If you want to dig into those repos at all, heavy use of wrappers around system calls that makes them clean and provides consistent interfaces and known return values. So you don't have to do a lot of extra debugging yourself. Everything was super well commented inside the source file. They kept really strong to the coding standard that's outlined by GNU, because they want all the developers to follow, certain bracket placements and indentations and arg placements. So that was really consistent. It was a really clean source file, which was nice. Loads of error checking for the command line arguments, for the system calls, like error checking everywhere, because this thing is going to be a piece of utility system software. It's going to be used in scripts. It's going to be used everywhere. So you want to make sure that you've covered all the edge cases, the weird things that can happen. But really, like the bolded comment here, it's 401 lines of wrapper and error checking code around two functions, open and this timestamp manipulation function, that are both OS system calls, which is hilarious. But if you take all this in mind, like it's actually not hard to then start digging through the other core utils. Understand that most of what you're seeing is probably just error checking and wrappers and stuff like that. So the actual core functionality of a lot of these utilities is really accessible to you, with the exception of the ls command, which is ridiculous at 5,515 lines for ls, the thing that prints the contents of a directory. If you actually want to see what the source trees for this stuff looks like, I have it open right here. So here's touch.c, but if I go back up a level, here's all those other core utilities that, again, if you've used Linux, you're familiar with a lot of these. Stuff like, who, as in who am I, or WC for word count. You can just open this up, dig into it. How long's word count? It's like 900 lines. But again, a lot of this is going to be standard, like argument. See, here's that usage function that we just saw in touch. That's going to be the exact same. If you were to hop down to main, which is usually at the bottom, all of this stuff is all parsing and processing of the command line arguments to try to figure out which arguments they used, bit of error checking, stuff like that. So a lot of these things have all this boilerplate, which makes the actual functionality kind of easy to identify and easy to understand. So yeah, that's kind of my end of this. If you ever wanted to dig into how the actual core Linux command line utilities work, it's all open source. It is navigatable, and it's not so daunting once you really sit and understand the stuff that's there. Anyways, hopefully that was interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I never thought touch would be so interesting, to be honest. Can you link that in the stream questions?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
There you go. And so yeah, I will pass it back.
Can anyone submit a request for core util?
Submit a request as in like a pull request on them?
Like, no, as in like, can anyone make, like, for example, like seeing how simple something like this was, can you like make whatever a command and then like submit it to become a part of the core utils, or is that like already set and done? It can't be changed.
That's a great question. I actually don't know. I think a lot of them are sort of predefined by like the POSIX standard. But
Right.
it's possible that, if someone came up with a cool new command, you could maybe propose it.
Interesting.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay.
You'd have to contact GNU because not anybody can just,
Obviously, yeah.
work on this repo. Yeah. Yeah, good
Awesome.
question.
Thanks.
No problem.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Nick.
Cool. Thanks for listening.
There's a
Back
like
to
I
you.
said, there's a link in the stream questions. I'll put it in the YouTube channel as well.
Cool.
And I guess we're on break. For anybody that wants CR credit, Nash has posted the form in the stream questions channel. Just put the code in that you see on the stream, and you'll get credit showing up. The time is 7:48, so we'll come back everyone. So you've heard about our upcoming ISSession CTF, and now you can learn about a CTF team run by Jem, Nash, Kyle, and Min. They're here to present from rags to Cybersci. So take it away, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for the warm introduction, Kurt. And thanks to all you guys for coming here as well. Yeah, our direction for this talk kind of changed. It was gonna just be us outlining our Cybersci experience, which was really cool. But I think along the way, and with the way that the announcement today worked out, we just thought it would be more fitting to also talk about our journey with CTFs and kind of how the group came together and the stuff that we've kind of dealt with, and give you guys some tips and tricks for those of you who have never participated or who want to participate. So yeah, kick back and enjoy this little talk from us. Sweet. So my name is Jen. I'm a second-year student here at ISS, and I'm the community manager here at ISSessions. I did my first CTF, I think first semester, like towards the end of first semester. I remember our Louai, our vice president, also our in-house Shakespeare, apparently, after today. He invited me out to Pico CTF. He essentially said we're going to be gathering together in the security room in the S building. And he said it's just a no pressure event, bring your friends. There's going to be a bunch of us in there just talking and having fun. I remember going to that, and then I don't think I solved a single challenge, but we had a lot of fun. It was really cool. Stayed there for a few hours and then headed out. And after that, I slowly started getting really into not traditional CTFs, but working on my skills through places like Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, stuff like that. Really starting to work on getting more comfortable with the command line and learning my Linux commands, And then slowly we started migrating into more traditional CTFs, which we really have been tackling as a team, and you'll hear more about that down the road.
Hey, I'm Kyle Doucette. You guys might know me as Centrum. You might see me around chat and stuff on the ISSessions Discord. Yeah, as far as me, I like cigars, long walks on beaches, just the usual. In terms of my experience, though, for CTFs, I started off with some Bandit on overthewire.org. It's a great introductory to get into like CTFs in general and stuff like that. Also, I had like a little bit of experience with like the Google CTF, the Pico CTF. I didn't have a chance to do it with the other guys, but I was playing around with it on my own. But just recently now, I've just been trying to go to CTFs with everyone that I can, especially with these guys.
And I'm Nishad, also for short known as Nash. I am the ISSessions treasurer. In terms of my background, I don't really come from a tech background, just recently started InfoSec and IT in my first year. My experience with CTFs is quite limited, to be honest. My first CTF, I think it was with Louai and ISSessions when they hosted the Pico CTF workshop. And in terms of like my experience just doing CTFs beyond that, I think I've done one other one, which it was kind of the same sort of outcome as the Pico CTF, which wasn't that good, to be honest. But I do enjoy doing them. It's sort of a good way to test your knowledge, to build up on different aspects that we'll talk about later in the presentation.
Awesome. We do have another member of our group who participated at Cybersci, but they couldn't make it here tonight. Just super obviously busy with school and life, just like we all are right now. But Min, who I mean, I don't know. I mean, we could probably argue that he's one of the most important members of our team. He's actually the main reason why I would probably go as far as to say why we even have a team and why we participate as frequently as we do. He keeps us up to date with all the upcoming CTF events. He's kind of always bugging us, hey, you want to sign up for this? Should we do this? This CTF coming up, that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely an integral part of our team, but he couldn't make it here tonight. So yeah. And as a team, we are Raid Against the Machine.
Against the Machine.
Oh yeah, that's us. And yeah, like I said, we are a CTF team, and we besides the four that you just kind of the three of us that are here and Min who couldn't make it, that we do have other members. I think our group is right now at between 7 and 9 members, something like that. And there's a lot of reasons that we have for having more members than can compete for any given CTF, just to make sure that we stay consistent and the team name can continue to participate even if people are busy or can't show up. It kind of gives us a buffer, right, to accommodate for people that might be busy, just to ensure that Raid Against the Machine as a group can still participate regardless of individual members' situations.
Yeah, so far we've participated in many CTFs together so far. Hopefully more in the future for sure. I think off the top of my head, we've done the Brixel CTF where we placed pretty decently. We also have done the TET CTF, some Cybersci workshops, and obviously the Cybersci 2021 regional finals.
That's awesome. Sorry, these slides are sticking on me. There we go. Go ahead, Nash.
Yeah, so just in terms of our progression as a team, I think most of us, when we started off at CTFs, we really found them challenging. We were complete noobs, really struggling really to get any challenges, but we sort of, so we struggled a lot and persevered. And so it was kind of a surprise, to be honest, in terms of how we placed, how well we did. We'll talk about just how the anxiety of up to the last 10 minutes when we were sort of thinking, oh, wow, we did so badly. But then within that last 10 minutes, it sort of changed the game for us. And we ended up doing better than we thought.
Really lucky there at the end. I definitely agree. It was a wild finish. So you might be thinking, nice to meet you guys. You seem like a nice group of people, and you have a cool team, it seems like. But what exactly is this strange acronym you keep talking about? Well, it's a competition, and your objective is to capture these flags, right? It's a competition made for hackers or other people that are, somewhat technically inclined, although you don't have to be in the beginning. But ultimately, that's kind of the end game, is to start moving up to a level where you participate in more and more challenging, more rewarding CTFs. But in a nutshell, it's just a like a gamified competition where you capture flags, right? And Kyle will tell you more about the structure and how it kind of works out.
Yeah, so pretty much in terms of the structure of it, everyone has. You don't have to have a team. You could obviously choose to do these on your own, but I do say you will probably not win those events if you just do them yourself. Nonetheless, it is a good experience if you do go on your own, just as long as you get your hands dirty and stuff like that. But ideally, you want to be forming these different teams. Sometimes you might want to stick with the same amount of people, which is a good thing. But if you can, there's always you could just link up with random people. I know in the ISSessions Discord, there is a CTF chat. So say for example, you're looking for a team that you want to go to the ISSessions CTF with, just post in there, say, hey, I'm looking for a team, and I'm sure everyone else will try to talk about it, and get you linked up that way.
I'll make a CTF looking for group channel.
That would be awesome. That's awesome. Cool. So teams and competitions and flags, but Nash, what exactly is a flag, and what are some of the ways that we can obtain them?
So flags generally are strings that you're looking for as part of the challenge. The general format is a random line of strings, usually surrounded by curly brackets, and usually the word flag. It's meant to be a quick identifier that you've actually solved the challenge and found what the developer of the challenge was trying to direct you to. That said, probably 90% of the CTFs that we've participated in use this sort of format. Cybersci CTF was a little bit different in that the flag was actually given to us by one of the sponsors once we've provided them an indication that we actually solved the challenge. So instead of hunting for the flag, they gave us a task to do. We would do the task, call over a sponsor, and show the sponsor how we came about solving the challenge. And they provided us with the flag that we would then submit to the platform that they used. That said, there's two different variants of CTFs that you'll commonly find. One of the variants that we often that's most common is the Jeopardy style. So essentially, there is a specific challenge that's worth a number of points. What you do is try to solve the challenge and submit the flag. The other style is sort of like a war game where you're sort of playing red and blue team, where one team is sort of focused on preserving or defending their machine, while the other team is trying to breach the other team's machine.
Right. Most common, I mean, for us especially, the only ones that we've done so far are the more Jeopardy style, right, with all the categories and stuff. But war games do sound really cool. I think in the future that would be awesome to try out some of those once we're more well equipped. Cool. So you know what CTFs are. You kind of, you got a rough feel for it, and you know that we're a bunch of cool people. But you're probably thinking, this is nice and dandy. Why do I care about CTFs? I mean, I'm in school for information security. I'm going to get an awesome degree. A piece of paper is going to tell the world that I'm ready to take on the security challenges of our day. Why do I care about these games? Well, the thing with CTFs is it's gonna expose you to a lot of stuff that you may get like a very brief understanding of through school, through your assignments and your lectures. But the types of challenges that you see, it's really going to help you hone those skills and really add them to your toolbox, right? I really think that there's a difference of having to do, let's say 2 or 3 assignments over an entire semester, and then, also having, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 challenges from these categories over the course of a semester, depending on how many CTFs you do. It really is a great way to work on your skills. Some of these things, if you look at these categories, you might learn some reverse engineering in 4th year, some, more technical skills, but overall, you're not really going to have that deep dive until you start doing this kind of self-learning, development kind of way, which you do through CTFs. One of the biggest things I would say, besides the web, crypto, sysadmin stuff, I really think the soft skills. I think working with a team, working under pressure, learning how to delegate duties, and kind of ask for help without cramping on their situation with their challenges. There's a lot of kind of intangibles that you're able to work on when you participate in these CTFs that I don't think you would get through traditional schooling. Obviously, our school is super important, but I really think going to these CTFs, you have a lot to gain that degree piece of paper can't really give you. Now, having said that, obviously we're in school and we're in an amazing program, one of the best in the country. So you do have an opportunity to apply the stuff that you've learned from school, right? It's not a matter of just you only learn new things. There's a lot of stuff that you'll be learning even in first year through your Linux classes and all that stuff that you can apply to these CTFs and really start sharpening those skills and making sure that you're comfortable with the stuff that you learn in school. So definitely kind of goes hand in hand, learning the new things and applying the stuff that you already know.
Yeah, those are some great points, Jem. I just want to add, though, that it's also a great way, an effective way to learn under pressure and learn on the go. There's a lot of times where you get into a challenge and you're not really sure how to proceed. And at those times, you have to figure this out. It's very reminiscent of actual real life industry experience, right? Like when you're on the job, you might not always have the answer. You got to find these answers. So it's a good thing to hone on your Googling skills. You want to improve those a lot. And like with all things, the more you do it, the more practice you get with it, the better you become with that. CTFs are a great way to practice these skills. I'll give you an example. During the Cybersci, one of the challenges, we had to do port knocking. I didn't even know what port knocking was up until that point.
Never heard of it before in my life.
Yeah, I never heard of it before. But just through some key searches, reading a lot of documents, Wikipedia articles, like that, we managed to crack that case, right? Another good opportunity to learn on the go, like say for example, you don't know how to use certain commands or whatnot. There's always the Linux man pages, or even just man pages in general. Learn different flags and stuff. Yeah, it's a great way to learn under pressure and on the go.
Well said, Kyle. Another real benefit is it looks really good on a resume and when you're applying to jobs. So I know one of the things that resonated with me during the Cybersci CTF is at the end of it, we all got an opportunity to speak with one of the sponsors. And one of the things she commented was like she thanked us for spending a Saturday doing the CTF for, I think it was 6 or 7 hours we were there all together. But yeah, it really highlights, your dedication and commitment to your program, and it makes you stand out in the sense that, you take what you are doing seriously and you want to get better. So they do definitely recognize that. Another thing is a lot of the CTFs that we've signed up for, especially as students, tend to have industry leading sponsors. So it's a good way to meet potential employers if you're looking for a job. A lot of them will post like job opportunities for participants to apply, and because you sort of already had an opportunity to talk with them, it's usually you stand a better chance to having your resume seen by somebody who can potentially hire you. So yeah, as I said, participating in them is a great way to showcase what you know and meet new people and boost up your resume, especially for third year students and fourth year students who are looking for full-time employment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I just want to I really want to just hammer home the fact that InfoSec isn't really there's a lot of noble jobs in the world, and there are many great jobs, but InfoSec is just one that's always developing, and it's not really the kind of industry where you can get this piece of paper and then expect to stop learning and expect to find these competitive jobs when people are committing a lot of time to the industry outside of school and outside of work. They're doing a lot of personal development and doing a lot of personal research. It's really the kind of industry that you got to just stay on top of things and learn as much as you can off the books, away from school and away from work, because it just changes so fast. So having these CTFs on your resume, it really just shows that, I'm not just in this for the piece of paper. This is something that I really do care about, right? I'm really setting aside this chunk of my time. Pardon me?
You got to really love it.
You have to, right? And even if you don't really love it now, you got to slowly learn to love it, because, it really is the type of industry that the people that are the most successful, they're the ones that are not doing this like a chore. They're looking forward to that next bug that they can find, or that next, conference that they can go to, or the next CTF that they can go to. So, yeah, it really does play a big role, this extracurricular stuff. I couldn't agree more, Nash. Cool. So you're probably thinking this is great, but Jem, I'm just not ready. I don't think that I really know how to tackle, the command line, let alone these funky exotic challenges you're talking about. How can I prep myself, right? Well, luckily it's 2021 and there's a ton of free online resources. You really don't got to spend a dime. You just got to put in the time, right? I didn't mean that to rhyme. And there it goes again. Nice. That was funny. I didn't mean to do that at all. That was completely random. There's a lot of awesome platforms. The top two here, Hack the Box and Try Hack Me, is where I've kind of just gone completely bonkers on for the last, I don't know, probably 6 months, almost a year now. But Ring Zero is solid, really difficult. Not gonna lie, as a beginner, I really think you should stick to not even Hack the Box, but Try Hack Me initially, because it's more guided. It's in a lesson format. They'll introduce a topic, break it down, talk you through it, and then give you a bunch of challenges. Hack the Box, you're looking at a bunch of just raw, vulnerable machines, right? You got to use a lot of real world skills to tackle those. Ring Zero is challenge based. It's not exactly machines or lessons or tutorials. It's here's a challenge, go do it, and it's really challenging. Over the Wire is the one that Kyle was talking about, and I think we've all done Bandit, especially if you had gone to Jamie's our event managers workshop last month or 2 months ago. It was really nice, and it kind of gets you really comfortable with the Linux command line, and There's deeper levels too, and there's Leviathan and some other ones. And I actually just saw in the chat, Vuln is amazing. It's like a free alternative to Hack the Box. The thing with Hack the Box is it's free for the active machines. If you want to do the paid machines, which are the retired machines, because you have write-ups you can follow with them, you do have to pay. I think it's like $10 a month. Vuln kind of negates that, right? You have access to all the Vuln machines, and there are write-ups for the Vuln machines. So awesome. Thank you for recommending that. I definitely would also recommend that. Yeah, those are some online platforms. Kyle?
Yeah, so like after you go to all these different CTFs and all these events, sometimes you walk out of there like thinking, hey, I don't know what that was. Like I have no clue about any of these challenges. Like I know with us with the tech challenge, we got 0.0 challenges completed. So in times like those, it's a great thing to do is you go on Medium or GitHub and you look at these write-ups. Pretty much that people that have completed these different challenges, they'll write down exactly their experience with it, how they tackled that challenge, the steps they used to complete the challenge, what the challenge was, the different exploits and all that, and you're able to learn from these other people. It's also great, like even if you did get these challenges, to just look at other people's experiences with them, because you might find something else that you didn't know, like, hey, oh yeah, this is a faster way to do that exploit, or this is a more efficient way to do that exploit. It's just always good to just be looking at them. There's also a lot of official write-ups written on ctftime.org. But the information is out there and you should definitely search for it after the event is over. The learning never stops.
Right. And just to sort of add on to that, CTFs really do complement your coursework and the things that you learn. So I know sometimes we wonder, why am I learning this? It really does give you the opportunity to like apply the things that you learn in academia to a problem that you're faced with, given the challenge that you have. So it's an opportunity to apply the things that you've learned in classes, and it's also an opportunity to learn something new. I know, for example, Kyle mentioned earlier about not knowing what port knocking was.
Yeah, it was a tough one.
Exactly. So even though we didn't end up solving that challenge, we still walked away knowing what that was, and so I take that as a win myself. It also gives you an opportunity to develop your problem solving skills. So in classes you learn how to use certain techniques and certain principles and what they mean, but actually going through that process of seeing a challenge and then working through that problem, it's a skill that you can only develop by doing. So the more that you do and you practice, the more better you become at it. It also helps you identify where your weaknesses are. Say, for example, you thought you knew a certain topic really, really well, and you were faced with a particular challenge, and for some reason you couldn't figure it out. After looking at the solution, for example, you might say, "Oh, wow, I actually didn't realize that I didn't know that topic as much as I did." So it really can help you hone in on certain skills or pieces of knowledge that you can improve upon.
Totally. I love all of that. And lastly, I think the biggest thing here is you can read all the books you want, you can watch all the videos you want, you can go to you can go to all the CTF talks you want, but it's just not going to prep you for the real thing until you actually start doing CTFs. You just have to do them, right? These challenges, they're a solo endeavor. You're never going to get used to that team environment. 1, 2, no matter how much anxiety or pressure you might feel learning a new thing through these sites or reading these write-ups, you're not going to feel that same pressure as you would while being, under the clock, looking at the scoreboard. Oh no, I'm behind this team. There's just so much stuff going on here. It's not going to be the same until you actually do the CTFs. And you'll hear more about this in a little bit, but I really think, no matter what the skill level is, no matter if you've never done a Try Hack Me before or an Over the Wire or read a single write-up, just go and sign up and do CTFs. And over time, once you, fail a bunch, like we have, miserably, not even a single challenge solved, as you've heard multiple times. As you start failing those challenges and reading the write-ups, you'll start to see, hold on a second, now I know for next time. So I really think, doing CTFs is going to be the best way to prep. Cool. And it's just freezing up on me again here.
Technical difficulties.
Cool. So now you're thinking, all right, I definitely do want to start. I'm not even gonna worry about hack the box or try hack me. I want to start doing CTFs, Jem. What's the first thing I got to do? Well, like we said earlier, I really think building a team is going to be super important. Kyle had mentioned earlier you could do it solo, but even he said it's just not going to be a recipe for success. I really
Definitely
think
not.
you gotta. No, it's just not. And it's not that you can't. You can definitely participate solo, but there's just so much to do and not enough time. You're going to want to have a team. Not only that, the thing with the team is, I think I mentioned this earlier, you want someone that you can ask for help or you can run ideas off of, even if it's not a challenge that Kyle can help me with. There's been many times actually where Kyle has just Googled something, or Nash or Min have just Googled something that I didn't think to Google, or they went down a different branch and they're Googling Google foo that I wasn't able to hit, and even though they didn't directly know how to help me, they found an answer that did help me. So having that extra set of eyes or that extra few brains around you is really going to be huge. So ASAP, go build a team. This could be a team of friends. This could be a random team, but get a team. Although I do recommend a team of friends over a completely random team. Even a team of co-students, like people that are in this program or in Sheridan. Just having some kind of a bond between the two of you, between the three of you or four of you will be helpful. But go get a team ASAP.
Yeah, that's great. So where do you actually find all these CTFs? Well, the best place to start actually is the ISSessions CTF. So make sure you sign up to that. But if you're not as lucky as me and have someone like Min, for example, a good friend of mine who's always bugging me to join the next CTF, I would recommend that you check out ctftime.org. They have like a whole bunch of different CTFs on there, different ranges of difficulties. They even have like rankings for each one. And they also have official scoreboards on there too. So you start to compete. If you're competitive like myself, and I know the rest of the guys here, they're probably a little bit competitive. You get to start to climb up the leaderboards and stuff like that way.
Right. And so after you looked at all the CTFs that are on CTF time and are completely overwhelmed, you might think to yourself, how do I pick a particular one? And I think the approach that we're kind of taking right now is we're kind of signing up for everything, sort of recognizing that a lot of these CTFs, they have cutoff times for their registration. So even if you're not sure if you are able to attend a particular event, signing up doesn't hurt. And it gives you an opportunity to participate in it if you end up becoming free during the time slot. So sometimes we do feel like we're over leveraging ourselves in terms of signing up for everything. But when you have a team that's not only 4 people, I know we've taken the approach of like if one of us can participate in it, then one of the other members who might be available will hop in and swap.
We have one more coming up tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, that's right.
This is true. Right after the exam, first thing we're going to do is go hopefully crush another CTF. We'll see how she goes, though.
And that's not to say like you have to complete the whole thing. Like
no.
I think even for tomorrow's one, we discussed. Yeah, we signed up, and we have exams next week, and we need to study. So like even if you signed up and you only were able to dedicate an hour to a day CTF or a week CTF, it's still something that you can. I'm sure you can find an hour in your day to learn something new.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I think is that if you're looking at spending an hour, obviously you got to take some breaks and do stuff that you love. But if you're going to just waste an hour in the day, or it's not even going to be an hour in the day, it's too frequent. I think like on the weekend, if you can set aside 1 to 3 hours to waste, you might as well have done it. The CTF, struggling your way through a challenge. I mean, obviously people need breaks. You don't want to burn out, so there's got to be that balance. But I really think a threshold of 1 to 3 hours a week isn't terrible when you're starting out. I think it's definitely doable. Awesome. So obviously go out and get started right away, but there's probably a couple of things that you can try to implement or try to take from us to ensure that you maximize your success. And success doesn't always mean to win. You'll see what we mean about that in a bit. But some things that we recommend from our limited experience. Obviously, we're still at the beginning of our journey, but one of the biggest things that I'm going to recommend right off the bat is try to have the same team every time. And when I say the same team, I think I said it before. Obviously, if 1 or 2 members swap around while one is busy, you substitute in another one, that's fine. But really try to have a core team that you participate with, because you're going to start, like I said before, you're going to start getting used to each other's strengths and weaknesses, right? You're going to start building chemistry. You're going to start getting more comfortable. And it really is. There's going to be, if you pick a different team every time, you're going to be having two competitions. There's going to be two competing ideas, right? One is a CTF, and two is your ability to mingle with your team, right? I don't know about you guys, but if I was in a brand new team every time, I don't know if I would make as much progress, not just in terms of points gained, but also things learned, right? We have a lot of discussions during these CTFs, and we run ideas off of each other, and it's a very nurturing environment. So I don't think that you're gonna be able to replicate that by having a new team every time. I really just want to hammer in. Obviously, like I said before, any team is better than no team. Just go out there and get started. And you know what? There's probably a lot to be gained from joining a new team too, because of all the different, people that you'll meet. But as far as like a long-term success plan for CTFs, I really think pick like a few of your closest friends, and yeah, really try to make it happen with the same people. Even if that is a really big team of like 8 or 9 people, have the same people subbing in every time. I'm rambling a little bit, but it's really important.
No, it's good points. I just want to like sort of build on what you're saying and to say that by having the same people all the time, everyone is just able to find their own niche. Like I know with us, like I love those coding challenges or like maybe some of the reverse engineering. Even though I'm not the best at it. I know you, Jam, love your web exploitations and Nash. I think you like to go to the cryptography or the crypto challenges and stuff like that. But it's just nice to have everyone have their niche. Like you don't necessarily have to pigeonhole yourself into like a certain corner saying, oh, I'm only going to do this type of challenge and that's all I'm ever going to do. Like you should try to like dabble in all of them, but just it's sort of nice to have that one thing that you're always able to be like, hey, I can comfortably do this one thing. Let me do that. I got this. You guys got whatever you got. Let's go. And then it's like it's a nice thing because you can do that divide and conquer. Divide and conquer is always a great opportunity to get ahead of the competition because, like I said, these are they're timed events, and you just want to be able to like divide and conquer like that way.
I just want to quickly jump in. I saw that Nick was talking about Carnegie Mellon's CTF team. I actually think they're, for a few years in a row, were they not the #1 CTF team in the world or something? They're like about as good as it gets. I think they're top tier team. Actually, that's kind of what I had in mind when I kept telling, I think over last summer, I kept telling Kyle, we got to create a long-term team. We got to create a long-term team and get on the CTF time ranks. I had mentioned that last summer after I heard about that team through I think it was a Darknet Diaries podcast. Somehow it had come up, and yeah. So just a little aside there. Sorry.
You made that comment. Look where we are now.
I think that's great as well.
Where we are now.
I didn't hear you. Sorry.
My apologies. It's okay. Continue.
Sorry, you cut out. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Nash. Go ahead. No, I just want to make that little thing.
I was just going to say, I think that's great as well because like there's definitely CTFs tailored to beginners and there's CTFs tailored to professionals. So there's a huge range, and it's great for actually the next point where it's like play to learn, not to win. As students, is a perfect opportunity to get involved when there's sort of you're still getting your feet wet, you're still learning these topics, and there's definitely CTFs that are tailored towards folks who are newer to the industry. And one of the big points here is really don't wait. I mean, as a student, you have a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of CTFs that are tailored to students specifically. Some, for example, some have things that they offer only to students. I know, for example, for Cybersci CTF, there is an age restriction on some of the activities that they do. So in the literal sense, don't wait. But also, like, you have the time now. Why not? Why not try? And don't let the hesitation of, I don't know how to do it, or I'm too scared to do it, or I don't know enough to be successful. I think walking in with that mentality probably isn't the best. A better way to go is literally to walk in and say, you know what, I'm just going to give it a shot, give it my all, and try to learn something new. And if you win, you win. And if you don't, you still walked out with more knowledge than you did walking in.
I love that. I just want to, you said, don't wait in the literal sense because of the age limit. Like for us, we had, whatever placement it was, because we're all over the age of 25, we couldn't continue on to the finals, which is, it's fine. We knew what we signed up for. It wasn't the fine print. But in a more conceptual sense, the do not wait, I want to have a quick little, anecdote here. When I first started going to sessions, I made a big effort to try to invite my friends all the time. I was like, guys, come out with me to these talks. These are people, these are talks that are given by people in your classes, people in your program, people that have graduated from your program. And oftentimes I was successful. I was able to convince quite a few people to come with me, but it was usually pretty short-lived. Like I'd have people come once or twice and then they'd stop coming. And I would say, come on, man, why aren't you coming out to these talks? And one of the most common things that I heard from them was, dude, I just don't understand what's going on at these talks. I feel like I'll be much better equipped in third or fourth year to come to these talks and be able to get the most out of it. That's a side note on its own, but I want to tie that into the CTFs. You might have the same idea for CTFs, right? You might think I'm going to wait until third or fourth year. Well, there's no such thing as a CTF class, right? There's not going to be a magic class that you take when all of a sudden, okay, now I'm ready to make sense of the CTF thing. Now I'm ready to make sense of the news segment or Rick's repo rundown. There's not a class like that, right? Like you come to these talks and you go and participate at the CTFs to truly start understanding what's going on. Really just don't make that mistake of waiting until third or fourth year, because like Nash said, you have the time now. Chances are with co-op, and then if you graduate, I mean, with a job and family, I don't know if you're going to ever have the kind of time that we do now. So really, really don't wait. There's not going to be a magic pill or a magic class that's going to make you ready for this. Honestly, do it now with no preparation, with no skills, and just learn it on the go. It really is, there's no time to waste here, and you're not going to wake up one day and think, this is the day. Right. Now I'm ready. No, it's not going to happen.
So it's like an immersive learning sort of experience where you're sort of literally like immersing yourself, not really knowing everything about what you're trying to tackle, but going through that struggle of learning it from the beginning.
Totally. And all the challenges that I've solved, there's not been one where I just walked into and I was like, I know how to do this, hammered out. Every single one so far has been a big tree of Googling branches and slowly finding myself, getting closer and closer and closer until finally I put on the last command or I click the last thing and I end up getting the flag. There's not been one thing where I was like, oh yeah, this specific moment in life I was ready for by XYZ events. No, man, there's no way. Every single thing I've solved so far has been, how can I learn how to do this? There's been keywords in the challenge descriptions, but yeah, it's not. Yeah, there's no time to waste. There's nothing to wait for. You just got to go and do it.
50 tabs later, right?
At least, totally. Yeah, but when you close those tabs at the end of the day, I don't know if there's a better feeling in the world. I really don't know if there's a better feeling than being able to close those tabs because you've solved the challenge or failed miserably. But that's another point. Cool. So why we initially wanted to, before it turned into the talk that it did, we were just going to talk about our experience at this awesome event, kind of the chain of events that led up to it, and what happened, how was the experience, and the results. Well, started out, we saw the announcement and we were thinking, oh man, I don't know if we're ready for this. There's a lot of qualifications. There's probably going to be some awesome people that apply, third, fourth years, maybe some people in our year that are much more equipped for us or for this CTF than us. But we applied anyways, and luckily we got accepted. I really think that we made a good case for it in our application, talking about all the stuff that we had done prepping for it. And it turned out that we actually ended up doing really well. Really wasn't expecting it. It was really, really surprising.
Yeah, so pretty much the challenge ranged in different categories. Initially, we did not split up because even to get into the first challenges, you actually had to solve one problem. So initially, we were all together trying to work on that. I think it was just to get like credentials for an OPVPN login. But once that happened, though, like we naturally just like sort of split up into our own segments, which actually ended up working out because while other people were like struggling and making progress on their problems, others were solving theirs, and it sort of all came to like a helm at the very end of it all, right?
Totally. It was a very organic process. It was awesome.
Very organic. It was nice.
Yeah, and like throughout the whole competition, we were sort of monitoring the scoreboard, kind of tallying our scores as we went, and we up until maybe like the last 10 minutes, we thought that we were probably in close to last place. And just because of the way that the flag submission was structured, we ended up solving some challenges that we didn't realize we solved until we called over the sponsor for a particular challenge, that sponsor provided us the flag that unlocked the next challenge. And then we realized that, oh, wow, we actually solved the next challenge as well. So that's sort of how we ended up last minute bursting back into the game. At the end, when they were doing the scoreboard, there was some hiccups, and we sort of tallied our score as we were going, and then we realized, oh wow, we actually got more points than they're showing, and so there was some back and forth that we had to do to get that resolved.
Yeah, that ending was super lucky. I think we had worked on the same. I think Min was working on his challenge. You and Kyle were working on a challenge. I was working on a challenge for, I think, the entire competition. I don't think we had solved, other than the initial entry challenge, I don't think that we had actually solved the challenge until the last leg. Nash said 15 or so minutes was the cutoff. And then all of a sudden it was boom, boom, boom. Part 1 solved, part 2 solved, part 1 solved, part 2 solved. It was an insane sequence of events. I really thought after spending the entire event working on one challenge that, obviously, we had said earlier, the point isn't always to win. Sometimes it's good to just learn, but we were really sure that the result was not going to be a good one in terms of placement. And then all of a sudden, just back to back solves. Yeah.
I think Kyle's motivation the whole time was, let's not come in last, guys.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true. Which I think we were pretty close to until that sequence of events, because we had all, I know you and Kyle had used, or you and Nash had used a big hint, Kyle, and I used a massive hint that took about 300 points or something. So we really weren't in a good spot. And then just, perseverance.
That's another side I just wanted to mention on, all these events, they tend to have these hints. And I just want to say that every single time that I've used one, they've been useless. And they've just hurt our point system and everything like that. So my recommendation is, if you ever see a hint, do not take the hint. It's not going to help you out.
Really think about it. I mean,
really think about it.
Yeah, with us, it's been like the hint that they've given was kind of the hint that one might have needed, 5-10 minutes into the challenge. Obviously, this is very subjective because it depends on skill level, but we would usually be just so close to solving the challenge that the hint that they recommended to us, or the hint that we ended up unlocking, was just so far back that it was almost a tilting experience, because the hints aren't cheap usually, right? It's not like it's 100-point challenge and you pay 5 points. It's usually half your points for that challenge, or more sometimes. So definitely agree with that. Really, a little tidbit of information there. Be very careful with the hints that you unlock. It's not always what they seem. Really try to do your research elsewhere, and then it's like, you know what, I'm about to give up on this challenge. I'm so close. Then maybe, but even then, at your own risk for sure. The goal for us was, like I said, even if we hadn't placed what we did and we had continued going, on with the challenges and finish where we were going to finish, the goal was just to learn something new. I really think that even if we hadn't placed where we placed, we would have all learned something new. I know before you actually solved your challenge, Kyle and Nash, you guys already learned about port knocking. And with me, before I solved my challenge, I was already in the FTP server with the anonymous login, so I learned all about that. And I was having troubles getting the files off, but I got some help with that. And even once I got into the PHP my admin, like a framework kind of thing for it's a web application. It's like there's a bunch of stuff that goes along with it. But I learned a lot about that even before I got my flag. I was navigating the directories and getting into the SQL database and all that stuff. So even if we hadn't placed before we even got our flags, we had already accomplished these things. So there was a lot that we learned, but I never expected to place. It was just a happy bonus for sure. This is actually, this is super important. It's we can't take all the credit. We definitely weren't the only team to place in the top 3. Another Sheridan team here that was participating at the same Cybersci as we did, the same challenge, the same competition, also placed top 3. And top prize was by Seneca, which I think they performed just elegantly and executed beautifully. So, but overall,
very strong Seneca team.
Very strong team.
Yeah, overall, I really think that's kind of don't wait. You're surrounded by this awesome community, this awesome immediate community. It's not like you have to travel anywhere. You're in the Discord. You have some of the most top tier people in this group, in this community. And if you're not utilizing this network, and I don't mean network in the sense of getting jobs and interviews. I mean for knowledge. I mean for actual personal or professional growth of your skills. If you're not doing that, what are you waiting for, right? Once you kind of get to third and fourth year and graduate, you're not going to lose it. I mean, I guess the people are still going to be there, but it's gonna lose its magic, right? Start utilizing this awesome group of people that you're surrounded by now, because yeah, you got some top tier talent here. No reason not to make a name for yourself and get to know these
100%.
people.
And I think one of the
sorry.
It's okay. It's fine.
Go ahead. Okay.
And I think one of the members of the other team ended up getting a co-op position out of that.
Right. I'm not sure if it was directly out of that, but I'm sure their placement on that competition and their participation in the industry and industry events probably had a big role in it. I don't think it's an accident that these people are going to these awesome extracurricular activities and events, and then also getting these awesome co-op positions. I don't think it's an accident. So very interesting point. Either way, whether it's directly or not. Yeah. So, and after all that, we what happened? What was the end result? Well, other than where we placed and the actual immediate feedback of seeing us on that scoreboard, right away we received a group interview with one of the top telecom companies in the world. We went in and we were able to exchange resumes. All of us were in a call with this person, and it went awesome. Like Nash had said, she thanked us for spending time on our Saturday to be a part of this event, and thanked us for doing this. And I thought something really interesting that stuck with me. She was talking about positions that we would all be interested in. We're talking about security gigs, and she kind of jumped in and she said, I can't see any of you guys being interested in the general IT roles. You guys are all elite hackers. She referred to us as, which obviously was a very
nice compliment.
Very nice compliment. I was just gonna say very nice compliment. At this point, I don't think it could be further from the truth yet. Yeah,
not quite yet. We're not there yet.
But it was awesome that tomorrow we work. Exactly. But it was just awesome the recognition. So these people and you have to kind of think about it. This person was from HR, and their view was that these I don't want to say kids, these students are doing these events, these hacking events, and they're placing second. They probably have a lot to offer this company. So even though right now we don't feel like we're elite hackers, you are kind of viewed as like, maybe not elite hacker, but you are viewed as really caring about your craft, and that's kind of the whole thing that I want to hammer home. Sorry, go ahead.
It's as far as our experience with Cybersci, it was a great learning experience for new skills. Like I know I mentioned the port knocking and stuff like that. I also did apply like certain skills that I already knew as well, but it really helped me really implement those in an actual real life situation versus just like doing the theoretical talking about these skills and stuff like that. It's just a great learning experience overall, I think.
That's huge. Yeah, that's really huge.
Right. And I think we touched on this already, but just to touch on it one more time, just the team chemistry aspect. I mean, you get to really know your team members better. You get to know what their strengths and what your strengths are, and sort of feed on each other. These soft skills, to draw back on, like, the sponsor's viewing of, the way your team performs, and just for people who are participating in general, these soft skills such as problem solving, collaboration, these are all things that not only do you benefit from in the CTF, but just general life skills. I mean, that are worth tons. Like,
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I love these guys before, but after that event, holy,
like family now.
That's it, man. It was a good one, definitely. So what's next for us? Well, I mean, we didn't know about the announcement, so we should have updated the. Well, we did know about the announcement, but the way that the slides worked out, it didn't allow it. But we should have updated it. The biggest thing that's next for us is the ISSessions CTF, and that should be the biggest thing for all you guys as well. Definitely the single most important CTF of the year. 100% mandatory attendance if you guys are at this talk specifically. Can't push that enough. More recently than that, though, I think tomorrow we have the Magpie CTF that we'll be a part of. It's we're really excited for that one. It's unfortunate the way that it worked out with exams and stuff. So like Nash and Kyle said, I don't know how much time we're going to be able to dedicate to it. I definitely want to show our face for a few hours, definitely. But that one's not mandatory. That one's not mandatory. The one that's mandatory is the ISSessions 2021 CTF. Gotta be there. Gotta be there. March 27th
I
to
know
March
I'll be there.
28th. You have to be there. Well, when I say mandatory, it's not like sometimes you say mandatory and it's like, well, it's not really mandatory. No, like I mean, you have to be there. You know, there's really no other way around it. This could be the first CTF for a lot of you guys. If you're not going to take the advice now and go on ctftime.org and find others, this could be your proving grounds, right? You could go in here and really have an awesome environment. And yeah, I'm not gonna ramble. This is the one. This is the one.
Nice.
Cool.
I think that's any questions?
Yeah. Let's fire off some questions. It's gone on long enough. I think we're not only number 2 in CTFs, but also number 1 in rambling.
You got a question. You got 2 questions from Nick, actually.
Awesome.
One at the very beginning that he said, have you guys ever thought about making it a varsity team? And then another one, which I want to know your answer to, is, are you guys thinking about doing C3X?
C3X, yes.
To answer the first question, we haven't thought about doing the varsity team. I think that's very interesting. I know that this is kind of an aside, but we just started a chess club and we wanted to do a varsity team for the chess club. I don't know why we never considered a varsity team for the CTF, especially with the stuff from Carnegie Mellon. I think that's very interesting, the way that those guys blew up. Definitely haven't thought about it. 100% something to think about, though. We got to have a talk after this, I think, guys.
Yeah, we have a group set up and everything. It's not to be that hard.
Yeah, for sure. I think swapping that over to represent Sheridan would be an awesome idea. That's my answer to that. I don't know if you guys have another answer. As far as the C3X thing goes, I did really want to attend, but I kind of get the feeling that there may be third and fourth years that might benefit more from that. That's just kind of through the grapevine, the things that I've heard. I would love to apply for it, but I don't know how it's going to be this year. I've been kind of talking to some little birdies, and I'm thinking it might be like, I don't know, it might be pretty difficult. We'll see. I don't know nothing.
I'm the birdie.
Are you the birdie? Oh, there's the birdies in the chat. Sorry.
Whoa, where'd that birdie come
Birdie
from?
was here. Yeah, that was a quick birdie. So I definitely have thought about it through and through and would love to apply, but I also don't want to take anything away from people that might be more well-equipped or can get more out of it directly right now. I know that I'll have other opportunities, so I don't want to. I would
say still apply.
Okay.
Yeah,
we've definitely thought about it.
Would you mind if I actually talk a little bit about C3X?
Go for it.
I 100% do not mind, dude. I was gonna actually invite you on to talk about C3X, but please.
Well, it worked out, didn't it?
100%, dude. Love it.
Okay, so first of all, about what Jem said about if you're in like first year or second year, not being ready. It is preferred, yes, that you are coming from third and fourth year, and that's purely because the subject of C3X, which is detection engineering, threat hunting, log analysis, that sort of stuff, all that stuff doesn't actually come into play until you take your third and fourth year courses. Now, that doesn't mean that first and second years shouldn't apply or that first and second years wouldn't be accepted. As you have heard from Jem and Kyle and Nash, right? The most important thing about these events is that you go with the passion and the willingness to learn. So as long as you have that, you're going to be fine because you have time to prepare. The organizers will tell you exactly what it is that you need to kind of, study for. And so if you put in the time, you will get back a lot from it. And I don't think it's fair to only allow third and fourth years to participate because, to be honest, I led the C3X team last year, and I was I was in third year, and to be honest, did I know anything walking in? Not really. And I participated in C3X the year before, and I would say that C3X actually was a very big part of why I got my co-op. Right, the people that I spoke to, I got interested in this field of detection engineering and threat hunting, and if that is something that excites you as well, I would say definitely apply. It is a lot of work to do well in C3X, but definitely the benefits are huge. So just to give you some details about actually what C3X is, right? So C3X is this red versus blue team exercise, right? So you essentially will have access to a console where you can hunt for threats that a real red team has actually engineered and carried out against your environment, right? It's a threat hunting exercise, meaning that you are proactively looking for threats even before they've happened. Now, this year, that's not going to be true because, of COVID. So we are actually going to be putting all of we're going to be essentially simulating the events, not really doing them in real time, just because it's going to be a lot easier and because we're not exactly all in the same space. So we had to kind of simplify the game a little bit. The biggest reason, though, in my opinion, that anyone really should participate in C3X this year is because, to be honest, I actually engineered the first level. So there's going to be 3 levels that you're going to have to sort of go through. And me, I'm a student that took the same courses as you. I made that first level. And to be honest, the way that I made that first level, I made it in such a way that literally any person, right? Any person with just a little bit of effort should be able to get through it. And there's going to be mentors to help you. And it's just going to be an awesome, awesome event. So highly encourage everyone to apply. You're going to learn a lot. Sorry for rambling. Back to you, Joe.
No, dude, that was incredible. That was really awesome. I definitely.
Sounds amazing. I think we should definitely sign up for that.
Yeah, I definitely do. Like, I've obviously thought about it. I've talked to you about it before, Louai. I just didn't want to take away, anything from other people, but it's definitely something that's on my list. I've thought about it numerous times, and I know you keep talking about how awesome your previous experiences were. So I can only imagine how awesome you made it when you were part of the design team. So yeah, 100%. I think, especially after that, to answer Nick's question, I think you can definitely expect us to try to get in on that. No questions asked. Yeah. I know we're kind of running low on time. Any other questions from anybody? Anything else?
Yeah, Jim, I had a quick question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
So considering that you have done a bunch of CTFs, and if I had a question about a CTF, I think I would go to you. So considering that, how would you, and being a part of the CTF preparation for our CTF, how would you compare that? How would you compare the CTFs you've been to what's coming?
I'm super stoked that you actually mentioned that, and this is not scripted at all. 100%. I'm not just saying that to be funny. One thing that I actually was going to mention at this talk that I forgot to is the level of, I don't want to say the level of prep. I don't know what kind of preparation goes on for other CTFs that I've been a part of, but this CTF that ISSessions are throwing this year, forget everything else. Just in terms of challenge diversity and challenge count and categories alone, I've never seen something like this in any of the CTFs that I've been to. I would go so far as to say that it's about 10 times, and I don't want to give anything away here. I really don't want to. I really hope, the execs are going to get mad at me after this, but I think I would go so far as to say there's about 10 times, minimum 10 times more challenges in this CTF than I've ever seen in any CTF before. It is a 2-day event, so also keep that in mind. As far as the categories go, I think it's one of the most inclusive. It covers just about every area of InfoSec. And again, this wasn't scripted. I'm literally I was going to talk about this, but I forgot. So thank you for reminding me. I've never seen a CTF like the one that we've made. Never, ever. And the workshops that come along with it and the sponsors. I loved Cybersci. It was amazing. To me, the way that I've seen this kind of get put together, and I've been so lucky to be a part of this team. It's kind of like Cybersci meets like the Hulk meets like just so much spinach that it's like Popeye's CTF. I'm rambling because it's just so wild. Yeah. To answer your question, it's like nothing I've ever been to before. Yusuf. I've never seen something like this before.
Sounds good, man. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, it's truly ridiculous. The amount of work that's gone into it, and like I said, just the challenge selection. Oh my god, it's sick. It's truly sick. Yeah, it's mandatory. You guys all got to be there, definitely.
I think I see Pablo has a question.
Oh, sorry.
Blue, I already answered that, so that's
Yeah,
good.
right. Yeah. There's definitely a time period. We don't want to stop you guys from sleeping.
On that note, there's going to be a whole bunch of like tomorrow. There's going to be an announcement that will answer, I think, most of the basic questions. Okay, and then there will be a lot more details that come out in the next few days, weeks ahead.
Right. Yeah, we'll keep you guys well posted. Don't worry about a thing. Like I said, all of y'all got to be there, so we got to do our part to make sure that happens, right?
For sure.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for coming, guys.
Well,
thanks for
thanks,
having us on,
guys.
Kurt.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for your
Thanks.
very insightful. Definitely, if people ask questions about what a CTF is, or they're curious about how to make a team, or like what's involved in a team, just link them to this this talk. I think it's perfectly encapsulates how to do a CTF well, or at least how to learn from a CTF.
Nice. Or if anyone has any questions, just feel free to message me.
Yeah. Message any of us. Message message in the CTF chat that we have going on right now. Whatever it is, just don't hold back. Don't be shy. You got a great community here. Use it.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Have a great night, everyone.
Have a